All right, homework 25, is simplifying trigonometric expressions using algebra and the fundamental trigonometric identities. On my note sheet you will have the identities. I'm going to bring up the list here from Alex. So if you go to the dictionary and look for the fundamental trigonometric identities, you can also find a list there. First ones are the reciprocal identities. Secant and cosine are reciprocals of each other. So the secant of theta is equal to 1 over cosine. Cosine is equal to 1 over secant. Sine and cosecant are reciprocal identities. Cosecant of theta equals 1 over sine. Sine equals 1 over cosecant. And then tangent and cotangent, same thing. Cotangent is 1 over tangent. Tangent is 1 over cotangent. You're also going to be working with the quotient identities in this one sometimes. The tangent of theta is sine over cosine. Excuse me. And because cotangent is reciprocal of tangent, same thing, I'm going to do the reciprocal. Instead of sine over cosine, I'm going to have cosine over sine. So tangent, sine over cosine, cotangent, cosine over sine. Later on, we'll be getting into some of these other ones, but for now, we're just going to use these first reciprocal identities and sometimes the quotient identity. A lot of times when you're simplifying, if you can either get it in terms of sine or cosine, those are the two main ones, because then tangent and cotangent also can be put in those forms, then it's going to make it easier to simplify your expression. So I'm going to go ahead and go back over here to homework 25. It says I'm going to take the cosecant of x, cosine of x, and I want to rewrite that into one expression. So the cosecant of x is the reciprocal of the sine, so I can make that 1 over the sine of x times the cosine of x. If I then do algebra and combine them into one expression, I'm going to have the cosine of x over the sine of x, and then I have one of those other identities. Cosine over sine is the cotangent, and so now it's equal to the cotangent of x, and now I've got it simplified into one trigonometric statement by using those two different kind of identities. So again, if I look back over here, my fundamental identities, most of the time you're going to take them, change them with your reciprocal identity or with your quotient identity, depending on what you have here. Go back to number 2 here. Number 2, I have sine of x and then I have the secant of x. So I'm going to change the secant. Secant is the inverse of the cosine. So I'm going to make this sine of x times 1 over the cosine of x. Then again, I can use algebra. Make this the sine of x over the cosine of x. And then sine of x over the cosine of x, sine over cosine is tangent. I've now made that into one statement. The next one here. I'm going to start with my secant. My secant is the inverse of the cosine. So I'm going to have 1 over the cosine of x times the cosine of x over the tangent of x. In this case, I can go ahead and just simplify this. The cosines of x are going to cancel out. I get 1 over the tangent of x. I can then use my reciprocal function. Tangent is inverse of cotangent, so 1 over the tangent is equal to the cotangent of x. And that's just going to be my answer then. So normally if I have secant or cosecant, I'm going to use that reciprocal identity to put it in terms of sine or cosine, and then go from there to see what I can do to simplify my expression.